except the shops that sold tools or weapons. These contained the sharpest of bright knives and the most murderous of guns. So only the shops which contained weapons, they were all lighted up. They had very good weapons, very sharp knives and murderous guns. Guns capable of killing. Shining weapons that seemed to be waiting for the time when they would be brought out to do their terrible work, that is killing people. And these weapons were already sold in the shop, all bright and shining. There was cheer, there was brightness only in these shops because the knives were shining. A large barrel of wine had been dropped and broken in one of the streets of Saint Antoine. Saint Antoine was the poorest district in France. Now barrel you can see in the picture on the opposite page, it is a very huge container. And this accidentally fell down from the cart and it broke. And the wine began to overflow on the streets. A large barrel of wine had been dropped and broken in one of the streets of Saint Antoine. Red wine began to run over through the stones. Little pools of it formed in the hollows of cracks among the stones. The wine covered all the hollows, all the cracks in the road, and it began overflowing. Then what happens is all the people who were so hungry and thirsty, they rushed out to drink the wine which had fallen on the streets. So you can imagine how hungry they were. Immediately, everyone left whatever they were doing and ran to stop and collect some of the wine before it disappeared into the ground. Even water, when it is poured on the ground, it will sink and there will be no water on the surface of the ground. So here they began to rush and collect as much wine as they could before it disappeared. Some knelt down and tried to drink from their hands, but most of it ran through their fingers. They tried to collect the wine like that in their hands, but all the wine escaped through the cracks in their fingers, and they could drink only very little wine. Some brought cups and tried to fill them. Others dipped cloths in the wine and then put them in their mouth. They dipped the cloth in the wine and they put the cloth which was covered, which was full of wine, into their mouth. They put it, they drank the wine like that. Just like dogs, they even knelt down and drank from the ground with their mouths. For a time in the street of the poor and miserable people, the joyful sound of laughter rang out. Now they were happy. So you can imagine how hungry they were, how thirsty they were. This wine which fell on the streets, they were so happy to drink it. And laughter was a thing which could not be heard in Saint Antoine. They were always sad, hungry, depressed. The miserable people, the joyful sound of laughter rang out. Miserable, very unhappy, very sad. But they are laughing now because they got something to drink. And it is only wine on the streets. But soon all the wine was gone. The laughter died down and the people returned to what they had been doing before. A tall man dipped his finger in some mud made red with the wine and wrote on the wall 5 big letters. He wrote the word blood on the wall. You can see the picture that he is writing. You can see them also drinking the wine, and they are trying to pour out all the wine on the streets. A tall man dipped his finger in some mud made red with the wine and wrote on the walls 5 big letters, BLOOD. The barrel of wine had been on its way to the wine shop at the corner. Outside stood the owner of the shop, Monsieur Defarge. Monsieur is French for Mr. He was strongly built, a man of about 30 years, with a face that was good-natured on the whole, but which showed signs of strong determination and complete absence of any kind of weakness. He is a very strong, healthy, active man. Very determined means he will do what he has decided to do. He will make a decision and he will see that he carries out that decision. Determined, very decided in his actions. He was a man who would be an enemy to be feared. So he is so strong and determined that if anybody is his enemy, they have to fear him. They have to be afraid of him because he will be ready to do anything to destroy that enemy. Monsieur Defarge stood looking at the struggle for the wine for some time. Struggle is the people trying to drink the wine which had fallen on the street because they are so hungry, thirsty, they were oppressed, they were suffering. It isn't my affair, he said to himself. I have nothing to do with this. It is not my problem, the people drinking wine like that on the street, from the street. As that barrel is broken, they must bring me another. I will not suffer any loss. I am not responsible for the breaking of this barrel. So they have to bring me another one. Then his eye caught sight of the man who had written the terrible word on the wall. The terrible word is blood. He had written with the wine by dipping his finger in the wine which fell on the streets and he wrote it on the wall. Then his eye caught sight of the man who had written the terrible word on the wall. He called to him. His man, the man who wrote these letters, was Gaspard. Say, Gaspard, are you crazy? Are you mad? Why do you write it in the public street? Are there no better places to write such words? Now in the book which Charles Dickens has written, the comment is made that one day blood will flow on all the streets of Saint Antoine just like the wine which spilt on the road and flowed on the streets. It is not here, but it is in the book. Madame Defarge, that is his wife, she is more cruel, more determined, more decided than her husband. Madame is Mrs. Madame Defarge was sitting in the shop when her husband re-entered it. She was a woman of about his own age, with a very keen eye, observant. She notices each and every detail very carefully. A strong face, very determined, very strong character, and a great calmness of nature, very calm. As her husband came in, she gave a little cough and looked up in a certain direction as if to call his attention to some people who had just come into the shop. At the corner of the shop, a few men were sitting and they were strangers, at least not all of them, at least maybe one or two of them. She wanted her husband to notice them, so she gave a cough. Now these poor people are all planning something very secretly, and what they are planning is that they want to rebel against the nobility, the high class, the king, the queen, who have oppressed them so much, who have made them suffer so much. The shopkeeper, Monsieur Defarge, looked around until his eye rested on an oldish gentleman and a young woman who were seated in the corner. An old gentleman, he is there. There were other people in the shop, but only these two were strangers. So only two people at the shop, sitting in the shop in the corner, were strangers. They are Jarvis Lorry I and Lucy Manette, the daughter of Dr. Manette. They have come to take their father, Dr. Manette, who has been imprisoned in France for long years. In fact, 18 years. But only these two were strangers, the man and the young lady. As he paused, he noticed that the old man attracted the attention of his young companion as if to say, "This is our man." That is, they have come to see Monsieur Defarge. "What on earth are these two doing there?" said Defarge to himself. "I don't know them. Who are these people? I don't know this man, this old man and this young woman. And what are they doing here?" He pretended not to notice the two strangers and fell into a conversation with three men who were drinking at the bar, who were drinking in that wine shop. "How goes it, Jakes?" said one of them to Monsieur Defarge. "Is all the wine drunk from the broken barrel? Have the people drunk all the wine from the broken barrel?" "Every drop of it," Jakes replied. There is not even a single drop of wine on the road because the people have drunk all the wine which fell when the barrel broke." "Every drop of it," Jakes replied Defarge. "It isn't often," said the man, "that these miserable creatures know the taste of wine or of anything but black bread and death. The only thing which is familiar to them is old stale bread. That is the only thing which they get. And even that bread is not sufficient to satisfy their hunger. Wine is something unheard of. They may not even have tasted it. So they were so happy drinking the wine which fell on the road." Isn't that so, Jakes? "It is so, Jakes," replied Monsieur Defarge. A movement from Madame Defarge attracted his attention. "Gentlemen," he said, "the room that you wish to see is at the top of the stairs. Go into the courtyard. One of you has been there before and will show you the way." That is, these three other men who were there, and Defarge said that they should go to the room, and I think this is the room where the doctor was imprisoned. They paid for the wine and left. The oldest gentleman walked towards Madame Defarge and asked permission to speak to him. Monsieur Defarge. The oldest gentleman walked towards Monsieur Defarge and asked permission to speak to him. Their conversation was also short. Almost at the first word, Monsieur Defarge's face showed keen attention. The first word uttered by these strangers, the old man and the woman, showed that he is very much interested in them and in their conversation. After a minute, Defarge signaled his agreement and went out. Whatever they spoke, whatever they said, I think they would have said that they wanted to meet Dr. Manette, the father of this young girl who had been imprisoned for 18 years. And Defarge agreed to take them to Dr. Manette. Madam went on with her knitting and took no notice. She did not bother about these two people. She went on knitting. Now, in her knitting, there is a secret. She is actually knitting the names of people whom they should kill at the time of the French Revolution. Madam went on knitting and took no notice. Mr. Jarvis Lorry, the gentleman, and Miss Lucy Manette joined Defarge in the courtyard, to which he had recently directed the three men. That is the courtyard. The three men who had been there earlier were also directed to go to this place. Defarge did a surprising thing. At that moment, Defarge did a surprising thing. He went down on one knee and put his lips to the young lady's hand. He knelt down and he put his lips to the hand of this young lady. Now, why he did this is because 18 years ago, Defarge had been a servant for Dr. Manette. That is why he respected Lucy even now. That is the father of his father. Her father, Dr. Manet, had been the servant. Her father, Dr. Manet, lived in France, and at that time, Defarge had been his servant. Defarge at one time had been a servant of Dr. Manet, Lucy's father. Lucy's mother had died and her father had disappeared. No one knew what had happened to him. His money was in Tellson's bank, an English bank. The baby Lucy was brought to England, and Mr. Jarvis Lorry, an official of Tellson's bank, an old friend of her father's, was put in charge of her money and her education. Mr. Lorry had asked an English woman, Miss Pross, to bring up the child. Over the years that followed, Miss Pross became a mother, like a mother to Lucy, and would have given her life for her.